Hello and welcome to episode 69 woo woo, of our Conversations to Connect. Let's get real, powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi ONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. Our conversation to connect this week is with the inspiring and fabulous Tina Tesch-Myers, joining us from Ballard, Washington. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you.
So glad to have you. So I'm excited about being able to roll up our sleeves and discuss your topic that you shared with our Exceptional Connections community on Tuesday, actually last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Harmonizing Ecology and Home Enterprise, Building Sustainable Success in All Relationships. So before we get into this intriguing conversation, I want to take a moment to introduce Tina to our listeners who may not know her, and her passion for helping people make simple shifts in their daily habits to reduce their plastic footprint. So we're going to learn a lot about Tina and why she started her business. So born in Australia to remarkable German parents, Tina has two brothers, one of whom is her twin. She pursued studies in hotel management and catering in Melbourne before completing her education in Switzerland, specifically in Arosa and Luzern. Her journey led her to North Wales, where she managed a small hotel and restaurant. Oh boy.
Criccieth.
Criccieth, thank you. Subsequently, she ventured to East Africa, where she cooked for scientists in Sudan and Kenya. Returning to Australia, Tina settled in Tasmania and embarked on her woodworking career under the banner of Telopea Turnings.
Telopea.
Telopea Turnings. You'll have to tell us what that means. After a decade, she relocated to the United States to study Rolfing at the Rolf Institute in Boulder, Colorado, specializing in visceral, cranial, and Aston patterning techniques. Okay, lots of words there. For 29 years, Tina devoted herself to this work and her cherished clients. However, she felt a profound inner calling to shift her life's direction and purpose. And last year, she launched Move Me, driven by her son's inspiration to combat plastic pollution in the oceans. So my goodness, Tina, you have been all over the world, so many different interests and opportunities that you pursued. So before we jump in and have you share more about the topic at hand, share a little bit more about your rich journey and maybe some downtime hobbies as well.
Okay. My amazing parents, my mom and dad. My dad was I was very close to my dad. And he would always say, follow your dream, follow what you love to do. And because you have to live your life. And my dad was a lot older than my mom. He was like 18 years older than my mom. So his perspective was a little different than my mom's. My mom was a great woman, but she was very regimented. She was very German. And so was my dad, but he was more soft. And I think he was wiser, just really wiser. And so I have so many careers, but for me, it was a right flow. I was first a chef from hotel management and that. And so I love food. And all my friends who know me know I love food. I love cooking. I love eating. And I was always fascinated with nutrition. I wanted to understand the cellular structure of food and what it does to our body. And with woodworking, I just love timber. So I left my career of a chef because I've been doing it all my life because my mum was a chef. And I went, oh, I have to leave. I've got to get into something else. And I really loved woodwork. And I would be doing, in Australia, you have a lot of night classes that are free. So for 7 months, I signed up to do wood turning. And I was really good at it. And I loved it. And I was the only girl. And I was the youngest. And I had these amazing people help me understand how to hold chisels, how to look at things. And that gave me a perspective of sight, of understanding line. And so when I finally, Telopea means, it's my favorite flower in Australia. It's a waratah, and the Latin name is Telopea. So if you look
Okay.
it up, it's Telopea, and I cannot pronounce the last Latin part. But it's my favorite flower, and it's a native indigenous plant in Tasmania
Okay.
and only grows there. And so I love the flower. I love my woodwork, but after a while, I'm just going, there has to be more to life. And I had a really successful wood turning. I'd go to functions and there'd be all men. And I'd walk in with my chisels and my bag and my helmet and my visors and everything. And they would say, "Are you sure you're in the right place? There's a yoga retreat down the road." And I go, "No, this is wood turning." And they go, "Yeah, oh, I'm in the right place." And I think it would really unsettle the men there at the time. But after a while, it was easy for them, and it was easy for me, because I only grew up with brothers. And I never understood not being comfortable with men.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really easy transition. And so when my desire suddenly changed, and I knew I had to do something else, it couldn't just be woodworking and catering. And I got Rolfed in Tassie, and that changed me. That radically changed my body. It changed everything inside of me. One day I stood up and I go, "I have to do this. I have to go to Boulder, Colorado to study." And
Amazing.
I told this to my mum. My mum swore at me in German and hung up the phone. And she didn't talk to me about this new direction I wanted to go for 2 years, because she just, "No, you're not doing it." And it was very clear to her. She goes, "If you're going to do this, you're doing it by yourself." But that's always been her motto. If you
Wow.
do anything in your life, we love you, we adore you, we support you, but never financially. That is your responsibility. And so I
Wow.
just, "That's fine, I'll do it." And I did.
Well, Rolfing, I've experienced Rolfing. I had gosh, it was probably over a year, maybe close to 2 years. I went to a gal that did Rolfing, and it is very painful to
It
experience it,
depends. Well, it depends on who was your teacher.
I guess.
I had amazing teachers. I had Jeff Maitland and Jan Sultan. I had the old crew.
Mm,
And that's Aston patterning, that we were taught how to do the roll thing and then add movement into it.
okay.
And there are times,
That
yeah,
would help.
there are times it's intense, but it's only for a few seconds. It
Yeah,
should only be, because you work with a person's body. And I
right.
loved it. It was like going on a sleuth journey of the person's body. You know, you might have backache, but it's coming from your big toe. So let's get that straightened to help your back. Or you're having migraines or headaches. Oh, I can see that your intestines are all swung to the right. I'm going to do some visceral work to lengthen it and make the connection between your gut and brain easier.
That's fascinating.
And so, I mean, I loved it, but there was a time I loved my clients. And I think it was different for me because I never accepted insurance. If
Mm,
you came to me because you wanted to,
yeah, it's
you
cash.
wanted to change. It wasn't because it's a car accident or
It's out
anything.
of pocket.
It was out of pocket.
Yeah,
And I would do payment schemes or payment. You know, if a person was
sure.
really wanting to change, they'd come.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I had great people, but there was a calling inside, and I could feel my passion dying. Still, I love the role thing, but there is something inside that was dying. And I just went, I need something else that's greater than me, that pushes me out of my comfort zone. Because I was starting to do a lot of self-development.
Right.
And one of my mentors said, if your why doesn't make you cry, you're on the wrong path.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I just went, okay. And then I was at the beach with Joaquin, where I grew up at Cape Patterson in Australia. And Joaquin's famous sentence was, you guys have screwed up this environment and we have to clean it up. And he was 13 years old at that time. It was pre-pandemic. And I looked at him and I go, why don't we start now? But I would run the opposite direction and go, no, it's too big. I can't, this is such a big, overwhelming journey. I just can't do this. And then, I would go do gardening, which I loved, cooking, which I loved. And I have to go to different places to get the ingredients. And then I would see all the plastic. Or I would go to Costco to get, fruits and vegetables, at a good price. And I'd only go if it wasn't in plastic. It can only come home if it wasn't in plastic.
Good luck.
So that was torturous for my husband. He goes, no. And I go, no, it's in plastic. We're not taking it. But it's my favorite oranges. I know. I love caras too, but it's in plastic, in a plastic bag. So it was hard, but I would see the pallets of plastic water, and I would just start crying. I would be so overwhelmed. I'm just going, there is something not right. And I would see what I had to do, but it terrified me. I mean, it really did. I was just going, really? Can I really do this? And I knew I had to. And every time I would step away, someone would send me an article. Someone would send me a video. Joaquin would give me an article. Joaquin would talk to me about the latest pollution in the Antarctic, or the death of a humpback whale, which had a ton of plastic in it. And I just sat one day. I always like to meditate. People call it praying. I call it meditation. And sitting in my space of being really content and happy, and go, I have to do this. And in Australia, we say, suck it up, sunshine, just do it.
Just do it. But it sounds like it was obviously you've been led for such a time as this, and you've been prepared for it with your diverse training. And what I love about you sharing your journey, Tina, is how each thing that you've done in your life has been a passion.
Yeah, it has.
And for whatever amount of time that you were involved in being a chef, in the wood turning and the rolfing and stuff, that was something that you loved and you were just all in, right?
All in.
But you continue to be called to something higher.
Yeah.
And this is a big deal. I mean, we can all do our part.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to solve the whole problem, it can be overwhelming. So I understand your vision of that, but I also am so appreciative of all the research that you've done and your passion for being able to make other people aware, right? In our own way, that we can be able to make a difference.
Yeah.
So I know that you were saying that, like, the ocean, plastics in the ocean are a big deal. And we hear about, the harm it does to our bodies, the microplastics. So before we jump into this amazing and intriguing conversation that I'm hoping will be a contribution to everyone that's listening, those that are live here and then as well on the replay, what are microplastics? Let's start at the beginning.
So microplastics it's the plastic that's broken down. And there's your microplastic, and then you have nanoplastic. There are two different ones. Microplastic is the first breakdown. Microplastics is when you have a plastic bag and you reuse it and you reuse it and you reuse it, like a Ziploc bag, a plastic bag, a shopping bag. You're constantly reusing it. And what that does, it does that micro off-gassing. And it's in a lot of the times, and it's a shape of shards, because plastic, because it's petroleum based, it'll have also a lot of the residual of petroleum, because it has to. I mean, that's what the base of plastic is. And it goes into like a shard. So it's never round and smooth. It's quite jagged. And those, you're constantly, whether you have your drink that you have in the morning, that's in, you go to Starbucks and you have something to drink, and you have hot water inside the paper cup, inside is lined with plastic. But what people don't realize is after 15 minutes, the nanoparticles, which is smaller than the constant rubbing of the plastic, it's 25,000 in 15 minutes.
Wow.
And that's what
crazy.
you're drinking. And that's what absorbing, that goes into your bloodstream. And they're not round, they're also shards. They all clump together, and you find them in a lot of fat deposit tissue. And the unfortunate thing with that is it doesn't break down, it builds up. It's like a dam of fat and plastic. And they're finding there's a lot of, because it's in the vascular system, they're finding a lot that it goes to the heart, to the brain. And because it's heavy, it goes to your pelvic floor for the legs, the thrombosis in your pelvic floor. And this is where they're starting now to see, when they do autopsies, these round blobs of hard plastic in your arteries and in your veins. I'm not quite sure about the veins, but I know they're in the larger areas of the vascular system.
Well, you brought up a really good point. So, you go to these unnamed coffee places, right?
Yeah.
And you use their cups, and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But you could bring your own mug or stainless steel or whatever you have that, and just ask them to fill it up, right?
Yeah, and then actually they're more happier to do that, and they actually give you generally 25 cents off your bill. You've brought your own cup, so they're not using a cup and a lid.
Right.
And so I go around asking a lot of the places now that I go, is this compostable? Is it plant-based, or does it have plant-based with plastic? And they go, no, it's all compostable. There's one nursery, Swanson, that everything is compostable, even the lid. So that's non-plastic. But there's not many other places. They'll have the compostable base, but the lid's all plastic.
So that's good. Thank you for mentioning that. So that is a question we can ask, and not just assume everybody does.
Yeah.
Is the lid, it's mainly the cup because of the heat and how it breaks it down. Is it compostable, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you stress, please, does it have a plastic lining? And, and the baristas, they know what you're talking about. They do know. And there was a little cafe I just went for the first time. It's called Red Arrow Cafe, just fantastic, here in Ballard. And they said their whole base is compostable, but not the lid. And I go, that's okay, because I had my own cup. But I was just curious. I just wanted to, I wanted to actually, I just want to inspire them to ask their boss, to ask the powers to be who buy all the products.
Right.
We start changing.
And if enough people are asking, then they may shift and purchase something else, right? If enough people are bringing in their own cups. So each person asking, even if they don't get the answer that they want, like, it's compostable and they don't have a cup with them, they can choose not to, well, sorry, I can't purchase coffee from you right now.
Yeah.
So that, it's the consumer on a, one-off basis that can make a difference.
Oh, yeah. And it empowers you. And then you can have the decision whether you're going to and whether you're not. And if you do decide, okay, I'm going to have a coffee and you know, I don't have my cup, but then don't take the lid. Don't accept the lid. Please
Right.
don't give me a lid.
Right.
I'll drink it and then I'll make sure it's down a
Right.
lot. You know,
So
it's
there's what it does to our bodies, as you mentioned, as it breaks down, but also think about the oceans, how
Mhm.
the plastic breaks down in the oceans and it becomes the nanoplastics that fish ingest, and then we eat the fish.
Yeah, I
There's
know.
another level of that, right?
Another, yeah. And it's, for me, it's never ceases to amaze me. You know, when I talk to little kids, or to anyone really, and I go, where do you think the most oxygen comes from? Everyone hands down says trees. Everyone,
Mm-hmm.
they say trees. And I go, it is actually, we breathe every day the ocean. We
Mm.
get 80% of our oxygen is from the ocean.
Wow.
It is not from trees. That's
Mm.
20%. So if we are constantly putting plastics in, and to make oxygen from the ocean, you need the algae, the seaweed, and there are other things that add to the oxygen, which I won't go into detail. But that's what gives us oxygen. And if we are starting to stifle that,
Mm-hmm.
we are not only killing the oceans, but we're killing ourselves because we're
Our
not being
planet.
able to breathe.
Right.
We breathe ocean every day.
Mm. That's a beautiful message. You got to remember that we breathe ocean every day.
Yeah.
Wow. So give us some alternatives, because I know that you love providing solutions to
Yeah,
people, and that's
I do.
something that you do a lot of research, and
Mm-hmm.
you go into different homes and you help people to identify things. You came into my home. I was so grateful for that. And you went through, and I've been on my own journey because I had a cancer diagnosis 7 years ago. And, just it heightens your awareness of everything that's in your environment. In our homes, many cases are very toxic, right? With different
Mm-hmm.
off-gassing and different things. So we want to make it as friendly and healthy as we can.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us about some ways that we can cut down on plastic in our homes, in our daily life.
Okay. I think one of the biggest ways is when you drink water, if it's not in glass, just have a stainless steel or a glass container. Even when you go into the little coffee shops, they give you water, it's always in plastic. And just go, no, I'm not. And you see it all the time. I mean,
Right,
it's just once, it's
right.
continuous. And have your own coffee cup. I have two. I have one in my car and one in my bag. And they're just it saves plastic, it saves my health, and then the ocean. And then there's another thing, I love giving alternatives to people that is in a price effective and easy to get.
Yes.
So I always tell people Target is an amazing place where you can get so many Ziploc bags, and they're all plant-based, non-toxic. They also have a cling wrap there that's plant-based and non-toxic. They have wax-covered material in a roll so you can cut it to fit whatever you need. Go there. It's going to be 5 or 10 cents more per container, the same amount, but it's plant-based. It's not going to give off and it breaks down. Then, you can go to PCC. I'm not quite sure about Whole Foods anymore. And they have another brand, which is all plant-based. And they're the big rubbish bins. They're the big garbage bins. I mean, oh, it's okay. In Australia, rubbish is the big bin, and the littler ones is the smaller. You call trash, we call rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
So they have different sizes of bags. These ones I put in my celery. If I get a big celery, because I don't want to go limp, so I put in one of those big green bags and roll it, and it stays fresh. It's And it's just gradually changing out, Everything in my freezer is all plant-based Ziploc bags, which I got at Target a year ago, and I'm still using them. And then everything in my freezer
So they hold up in the freezer well?
Oh yeah, they're freezer bags. That they're
The
they are
freezer bag
designed
for, okay.
just for the
Nice.
freezer. And I have them sometimes in my normal, but mainly in the freezer, in my normal
Sure.
refrigerator, but mainly in the freezer. But you can. It is amazing how you can start changing out, and it's not expensive, and it
Right.
is environmentally friendly for your body, your family, and the future generations.
Right. I love that. I love your ideas. And I know you have so many more of just one household doing their part and making a difference.
Yeah.
Right. And we can, it's like a ripple effect, right? If we do it and we teach our children how to, and we educate each other and we, request it in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And enough people make that request that, they're like, oh gosh, everybody wants compostable cups. They're actually walking away and not buying our product because they're aware of the side effects of it. So that's very encouraging, isn't it?
It
Can all
is.
make a difference.
It does make a difference. And when I talk to people and they go, so the common thread when someone I talk with, they go, well, I'm only one person. Am I really going to make a difference? And I go, well, just imagine if there's 100 people every day using their own cup. And if it's 1,000 people every day using their own water bottle. Now, if you can imagine 1,000,000 people doing the same every day, and that's when it's compounding. That's when you see the bigger picture. And
Right.
it's not like just me, but I'm contributing. And then for Move Me, my company, we have 3 words. You want to join, you want to learn, and whatever you learn, we want you to share. So I'm not going to reach everyone, but everyone else can reach their friends and their family and just go, oh, go to Target and get that. Don't do that. I mean, I want people to understand it's a sharing community, that whatever
Yes.
we learn, you share. So people find out.
Well, absolutely. And it's a journey. And,
Yeah.
when I'm going to go back to when you came and gave me a discovery session in my home and we were in my kitchen. And again, I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting rid of this. So proud of myself, don't have aluminum, not getting rid of the plastic. Still have some things that I need to transition, but it's just the awareness is huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I showed you my cutting boards and they were Costco cutting boards, the plastic ones that they give you, they look like they're very, Henkel, whatever, but you're like, you realize every time you cut let onion or something like that, you're cutting little pieces of plastic that you're ingesting. And I don't know why I just thought, oh, well, surely they have it so that that's not happening. And so I got rid of those first thing. And I actually had some teak wood cutting boards that I had bought at Costco. And I just was waiting for these to, start getting stained or bad and before I transitioned them. And so those little things, just the awareness and being able to substitute. And so it's not about cold turkey for anything, for our health or for our environment, but just the awareness and being able to share with one another like we're doing now. Hopefully somebody will listen to this and go, oh, I'm going to stop doing. I just had never thought of that. Now, since you told me that, I've seen a couple of programs where they show somebody's cutting, they're illustrating how you're actually getting the little plastic shards in your food, which makes sense. But I just thought, well, surely they're protecting us.
Yeah, I know. And it's tragic because people think that the government wouldn't do this. And that's not so much really the government. I mean, it's the individual people who have the company and who have the business.
It's free market, right?
Yeah. And it's like, no. And I was at a gentleman's place just recently. He actually came to Exceptional Connections, Norman. And I worked on his little house, and it was just sweet. I mean, he's such a sweet soul.
Yes.
And then we were going through things, and and I said, okay, this and this, and then we got to the bathroom, And I said, wow, you do realize, and a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, my house here in Ballard was built in the 1920s. So it's brick and it's old. It doesn't have, I haven't updated bathrooms, but I didn't put all glass in. I like a simple shower curtain. Even I had a plastic shower curtain. And when I started doing research, I realized, oh, when the hot water touches that plastic, the off-gassing of the nanoparticles go into your lungs and sinuses. And I went, I don't believe this. And it even took me by surprise. So I went to Fred Meyer and I bought some Indian cotton shower curtains.
So how does that work with the being, so it doesn't get wet?
It does get wet, but
It does get wet.
you have to understand
It
it's a
just dries.
shower. It dries. Just make sure
Okay.
you've got it out when you're finished, so the water runs, and you
Open
have
it
to have
up.
the
Yeah.
curtain inside the bath, not on the outside.
Right.
And then just also realize that once a month, you're going to have to wash it in the washing machine. And it's easy to take off, put out, hang up, and dry. And I was doing that anyway with the plastic one.
Right.
Little did I know that I was putting plastic nanoparticles into the ocean as well as. So I'm just going, okay. When
As
you
well as your
start,
lungs, right?
it goes into your lungs and your sinuses, and
Mm,
also into your gums. I mean, you're breathing it all in. And if you have certain areas that are weak, it's going to go in. It's going to stay
right.
in.
Yeah, we have our weak links that
Yeah.
it attacks. Wow. Well, I've heard you mention that before, but I just like it's hitting me at a whole different level here, the different effects of plastic on our body. Because for years, I mean, what did they use? Coca-Cola bottles. Everything was glass, right?
Yes, everything was glass.
All of our food was stored in, glass for the most part, in
Yeah.
the ball jars, thus the ball jars. So, we can start transitioning and going back. And I love going into antique stores and looking at like the different milk glass containers and the different, how they kept the butter and how they kept the, different things. And we've gotten away from that and transitioned all to plastics in our homes. And so it's nice to be able to, you know, go buy antiques or get, use ball jars or, there's a lot of substitutes.
Yeah, and you can also go to Goodwill areas. They have so much glass and glass
They
jars.
do. You're
And
right.
I have a lot that's just from the canning jars, and I had
Mhm.
some that were big, and it was great. I was in Fred Meyer, and they were having a sale at the end or at the beginning of winter when nobody was doing any more canning
Right.
and
That's
they
the
had these
best time to
big
buy them.
jars, and they were like $4 each. They just wanted to get rid of it.
Right.
And so I got
That's a
these,
great tip. You got to
yeah,
remember that the end of the end
end of
of
the
the
season.
fall, winter, when they're trying to transition those things out, because they're at a
Yeah,
premium now, right?
yeah, yeah,
But at that time of year, to be able to get them and get them at a really good price and transition, putting our, different things in them.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love this conversation. This is great. Well, you shared so much information with our Exceptional Connections community. And I know you had some beautiful graphics. Is there anything that you want to refer to or other than the journey, the pathway that we're talking about things today, or do you want to just leave it
I
at that?
think the one that I really like is the one with the blood. I mean, I'm really into nanoparticles and what people don't even think really registers to them.
Right.
So yeah, here's me loving to throw plastic away. And they're the microplastics that, I mean, 80% of us, we have it in our body. I mean, there are 80% people. All of us have some of it in here, unfortunately.
We talked about that, and I think it's really great to be able to have that awareness. But what can we do? We can do preventatively so that we don't get more. But is there anything to be done to get it out of our systems?
That's the next course of me trying to find. At the moment, there is no information. How do we get it out?
Wow.
And what's really tragic is my generation and older, we have less, but the children have more.
Yes.
than what we do.
Right.
That's what's terrifying.
It
And
is.
that's what you're going, okay, so let's prevent a lot of it from going there. I mean, you're not
Right.
going to stop it completely, but at least let's have a good way of preventing by not giving them a Ziploc bag that's plastic, but by giving a plant-based one. They look the same. I mean,
Right. Well, and
do.
that's one thing that I do a lot of shopping at Costco and Trader Joe's. And Trader Joe's does have the compostable bags that you use for your to put your, produce in.
Which is fantastic. And
It
I
is.
PCC and Whole Foods would do the same. It
Yeah.
really annoys me. They have
That's
it.
amazing that they don't.
Yeah, they have a beautiful green looking plastic bag at
Yeah.
PCC. And I said, oh, is this biodegradable? No. And I go, I think everyone thinks it is because it's green.
Right. Well,
And
that was their
their marketing.
that was their marketing picks. Okay, so this was the slide that
This
you were
is the
talking
one.
about, right?
Yeah, this is the one that I find fascinating. And the science behind all of the nano, which is the breaking down of even more than the micro. It's like, it is, a nano is tiny, tiny, tiny. Let's just say that basically.
Microscopic, right?
Yeah, yeah, sometimes a little bit less than microscopic, but that's where the harm starts. And people don't realize it's in your vascular system, your blood that goes through your whole body it will be, I mean, it will be. And if you already have areas that are weakened, like, cardiovascular, your heart, or you have genetically weakened function from your, vascular system, from your gut to your brain, the vena cava, which we used to always call the elevator to your brain, or highway or elevator to your brain. So, and that goes along your spine area internally, and it's like all the areas that are weakened, the plastic will stay there. And that's when the clots start happening. And whether it's from a stroke or heart attack or deep thrombosis in your legs, and anyone who has calf issues, or, then you always know it's related to the heart. And so and it really is scary. And then, there are 3 different types of plastic that we use. And one's for the bottles and shopping bags. I am now going out of all shopping bags that are plastic, which is challenging because some of those are just beautiful looking. But then it's great because I'm not getting their plastic. But it's like, okay, we're going to go into material ones, which is starting now more and more to come available. And then we have the construction PVC, which you can't help. It's going to be making all the water come to your home. The one thing nice about the PVC, and that's the only one thing nice, is it doesn't break down for 1,000 years. And okay, and I'm just going, 1,000 years is 30 generations of people. When you break down 1,000 years, and that's when it really, when you see all the bottles, the plastic water bottles, or the plastic that you see, it's going to break down in after 30 generations. And that for me just blows my mind.
Yeah.
And then we have it in our fibers and textiles. And I remember going out somewhere.
So the clothes we wear.
The clothes we wear, the blankets we have, the bedding we sleep on. And there are some you have to. I mean, tents, fantastic. Some raincoats, fantastic. But when it comes to clothing on me, I've always had just wool, cotton, and people look at me wool, and it's merino wool is so different than Shetland wool. There are different types of wool. Cashmere, silk, bamboo, more linens, and hemp. And then you have so many alternatives.
Now, you didn't mention cotton, although you did mention cotton for the shower curtain.
Yeah, yeah.
Cotton as well.
Yeah. And it's
Natural fibers, basically, is what you're
just
saying.
basically, and I grew up only with natural fibers. I mean, I really did. In Australia, it was all that we had, and especially wool, and it was just, it was normal. And I remember going out to a function with many women, and they were doing walking and clothes showing. And this woman said, "Would you like to buy some?" And I go, "I'm so sorry, but I only buy wool, cashmere, silk, cotton, and bamboo." And then she looked at me and she goes, "Well, there's nothing here for you." And I go, "I
See,
know."
just the fact that you did that, I think that is so beautiful. And you do that in so many ways, Tina. And I think that's what's so inspiring about you is you're in saying it so graciously, you're educating people. And enough people have the tenacity, the desire to do that in their own lives, then that does make a difference and it will shift things.
Yeah,
Financially, it's in the pocketbook, right? It will shift things.
yeah. And it's just basically, what can we do to make our health healthier? So I don't know a lot about fibers penetrating, the nanoparticles of plastics penetrating skin, but it does. All of it rubbing, all the pure synthetics on your body, and your pores are open, whether you're sweating and that, you are absorbing that into your system.
Yep, for sure, for sure. Well, there's something else that you mentioned. I'm going to share this next slide because I just think this is just like you say, we don't at our age, have as many of the toxins as these young children that are being born. So talk about that.
And it's heartbreaking because we have so many toxins, industrial pollutants in the air, whether you're on a busy street or someone's braking, and it is around and you're absorbing it. And if you're pregnant, it's almost like you absorb everything in. Your body is craving because you're feeding another human being, and then you have to feed yourself. And women, and men are catching up, putting on at least 168 toxins or chemicals a day.
Because they're using more products,
Yeah.
right? That's the marketing of men in the past is soap and water, right?
Yeah. And that's when I'd like to tell people, I go, if you're not sure on how toxic your product is, there's an amazing app you can use. And it's called Yuka, Yuka, and it's the shape of a carrot. That's one. It's free. I pay $13 a year because I want to scan and understand everything that they have. And you can go in and scan your products, and it will rate out of 1 of 100 how good it is. And you can use this app in any country of the world because it's worldwide. Because I use it in Australia and my friends use it in England and in Switzerland. So I know you can use it in other countries. It's the same app. And it will tell you exactly what's in that product. And out of 100, it'll give a rating. And I was using a product from a very expensive shampoo and conditioner. And I found out when I scanned it, it was 3 out of 100. It was highly toxic, but yet the name and the branding and the coloring and everything, I was shocked.
It was misleading. You thought it was a natural product and it was non-toxic.
And so that's what I share with people. Just get that on your phone and you're already stepping within your power to change what you're putting on your body.
Right.
And it'll give you alternatives. Have that or try that and that. So that's the one app I love sharing with people.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I remember you using that around my household to check things that I had. It's like, I'm thinking it's good. And it's like, your shampoo is not that great. It's like, oh, your toothpaste is not that great. Oh, I thought this was, a good option.
Yeah.
Well, we're at 12:48, usually around the 45-minute level. We open it up. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun we can continue our conversation, and you have so many beautiful your education and options that you've offered us. But I'm going to go ahead and open it up. If, anybody has any questions, this is a great time. We could just have a 3-week conversation if you'd like. So feel free, if you have a question, to unmute yourself and join in. You also have some other slides that we can share as well. So I just want to.
I'm open for whatever. I can go on gas bagging, or we can answer questions.
Well, Joan, I see that you've unmuted yourself. So
I just have one
this
quick
conversation with us.
Yeah, I just have one quick one for Tina. What do you do about products that, it's really hard to get away from any of the plastic? Like, for example, milk these days, you don't find it in glass anymore. At least I haven't seen it in glass for
yeah, you can now. There's 2 dairies here locally within Washington that have their milk in glass now.
Oh, great to know.
But it's pasteurized, but it's not homogenized, which is really nice because you get the cream on the top. And I stick my finger in and eat it. But you pay $2 for the glass bottle, but when you bring it in, it rolls off the cost of the next bottle.
Is that one of the delivery places?
Well, I find it in Ballard Market, PCC, Whole Foods, all the shopping areas. I don't know about Target and Fred Meyer. I haven't looked there because I just get my milk at Ballard Market for my.
I usually shop at Fred Meyer, and I haven't seen anything in glass, so that's why I asked. Thank you.
But they may have to do the delivery, because I know there are delivery companies that they deliver milk in glass.
In glass, yeah. I think the Smith Brothers, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, that sounds
Smith
right.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Right.
All
So
right,
what is it about? Is it when a product is sitting in the plastic, or when it gets heated up and cools? What off-gases?
It's both. And when I talk to people and they put their plastic containers, the Tupperware, in the microwave to heat up their food, you just go, no. If you need to use a microwave, then use glass.
Right.
Really. If you need to heat up your food in the oven, just use glass. Use Pyrex. It's such an amazing product.
That's a great question, because from early on, when we got microwaves, I was always told you don't heat, stuff up in the microwave plastic. And so I never have. I always am very conscious about that. But you're saying that it doesn't matter whether you're heating it or freezing it, even if it's just sitting in plastic.
Yeah.
It can emit some of those.
It breaks down. And my quest at the moment is trying to find products that are not in plastic. And they may be, beautiful and clean, but when they're sitting in plastic, the off-gassing and the residual that comes off it just doesn't do your body good. And I'm really grateful there are companies that recycle and they take the next step of send it back and we will redo everything and make sure. But it's been a challenge trying to find things. And that's when I've stepped in. I'm saying, okay, I can never find a dish detergent or all these other products that are not in plastic. And if I'm doing a dish detergent, because I always hand wash my dishes, that I don't want to have the plastic residue, the nanoparticles going into my warm hands, that the pores are all open.
Right.
So I've ended up making my own, which is 3 ingredients and it goes really fast. And I just want to give people other alternatives that they can make at home. And I know there are many people who go, look, I don't want to make it. I really don't. So
let's talk about that. That's great, because you generously did a little. No, it wasn't the dish soap, was it? Did you give the dish soap?
That's a dish soap.
You gave the dish soap out, a sample to all of us at the event, and then also offered recipes. So talk about the easy, ingredients, simple ingredients, when we can create our own products.
Yeah. And well, what is now beautiful, one of the main ingredients the company is now putting everything into paper, and there is a bit of plastic on the internal to keep it from saturating.
Mhm.
But that's one step in the right direction. They're using 85% less plastic. So
Right.
it's another step in the right direction. And you know, I try when I go shopping, you know, if I'm going to get flour, I only go and get flour that's in paper, not in
Mhm.
plastic.
Right.
And you can start finding them a little bit easier. There are some companies that I was really upset that they turned everything into plastic. They're all of their flour products. Doesn't matter
Mm.
what flour, from garbanzo to almond to whatever. And
Right.
I can't buy it.
Mm.
Just, you
Yeah, the
know,
awareness is amazing. But you know, just thinking is really, I mean, I don't know if I'm totally accurate on this, but I'm thinking like our generation, my lifetime, my
yeah.
mom's lifetime. It's really only been, well, obviously there's my kids and then grandkids. So it's been the last 4 generations, right?
Yeah, 40, 50 years.
That this has really gotten into our world, in our culture, in our economy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like it's long gone. We can turn this around.
Oh,
We have
yeah.
the devastating effects of it, but we need to be able to, the awareness is what's going to shift things, and
Yeah.
the ability to make our own, like, you know, I use essential oils, and I think I gave you the recipe for furniture furniture polish.
Mm.
It's
I'd
just
love
very
to have
simple.
that one
It's
again,
olive.
please.
Pardon?
um, I have misplaced it, and I would
Oh,
love
I'll
to
have
have
to give it
it
to you
again.
again. And so it's basically, I think it was, depends on the size bottle you have, but put it in a glass bottle.
Yeah.
And I use a half a cup of white vinegar,
Mm-hmm.
a half a cup of olive oil, and then essential oils. I put like 30 drops of orange or lemon essential oil. That's it. 3 ingredients. And it works beautifully. I'm
Yeah.
not putting the hydrocarbons, spraying in it, you know, with the pledge and all those chemicals. But you know, there's so many things that we can do that are using regular household products,
Yeah.
baking soda, you know, vinegar, and being able to save money, reusable containers, you know, continue to use the same container for your, you know, I just mark it, put a little label on it that it's my own, you know, furniture polish. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
things that we can do. So I love your inspiration with Castile soap. You can do a lot with Castile
Oh,
soap,
Castile soap's amazing. That's
right?
what I used to clean my clothes in Australia, the woolen jumpers,
Mm-hmm.
sweaters, sorry. And I'd have all velvet Castile soap in Australia, and it got every stain out. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it is amazing. That's a great soap.
Yeah. So getting back to basics, doing
Mhm.
things that are, you know, great grandma used, and
Yeah, I know.
you know, like you said, that I love the idea of the Goodwills and thrift stores. We can find a
Mhm.
lot of really great things in a bargain,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
just wash it really well, and you might have to put a different lid on it, you know, in the ball lids or something. But there's things that we can do to, I store a lot of my food in ball jars. They have the, you know, the smaller ones too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, my honey I put in there now, and what was I thinking the other day? Oh, because my garden's coming in, my strawberries, I learned that you don't rinse the strawberries at all. Just take them straight from the garden. I just kind of clean them off a little bit, make sure there's
Mhm.
not any bugs in them, and just put them in a ball jar and put it in the refrigerator. It lasts for months
I know, I know. Yeah,
and no mold.
I know. Isn't it amazing?
I love things like that that
Yeah,
help
yeah,
extend the life of food. And this is just in a glass thing, put it straight in the freezer,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it preserves your food beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. It's just simple shifts, and that's what Move Me is all about. Is I want you to be able to do doable, simple shifts, and one thing a day. We're so overwhelmed with life, but we do have time for one thing a day. And whether that one thing is every day, you have your own glass or you have your own bottle. And it adds up. It's like maybe 30 in a month, if not, you know, maybe like 20. But still, without the whole year, you've saved, don't know, 240, oh no, actually it's more. Let's just say 240 cups that haven't gone into the landfill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes a big difference. One thing at a time.
One thing at a time.
So if we have any other questions or comments, feel free to jump in. But you have such beautiful slides. I just thought for the posterity of this conversation, I would add, the graphic that you talked about in how it affects 80% of the oxygen comes from the ocean and how we're polluting our oceans.
Yeah, I know.
Pollution, affecting the ocean, not only the ocean, but the different creatures that live in the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely the different creatures. And we are 70% water, and so is the planet. I mean, there's a lot that happens within us that also reflects into the ocean.
So we know that because we've heard it a lot that, as human beings, our composition is 70% water, but the earth is as well, right?
Yeah.
The earth's surface is 70%. So, that's very telling.
Yeah.
And then you talked about we talked about the kitchen a little bit with cutting boards, and anything else you want to add about the kitchen?
I was at Norman's place, and sweet man, and he goes, oh, these are my cooking utensils. And I go, they're plastic. And he goes, yeah. And I go, so logically, when you think of plastic cooking utensils, they should melt because it's plastic melts.
Right.
And he looked at me and he goes, oh. And I go, and yours are black, which looks beautiful with the wooden handles, and the handle looks very lovely.
Mm-hmm.
The red handle, I mean, it was beautiful looking. And I go, but so it doesn't melt. The manufacturers have to put something into the plastic to prevent it from melting.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want half melting when you're cooking.
Right.
And so they add a fire hydrant retardant in there into your plastic utensils.
Yeah, that's asbestos, isn't it?
Well, it's but no, asbestos is something different.
Okay.
But the fire hydrant, it's like and it's usually always black, I thought, but now I'm seeing a lot of other plastic tools, and they're green and red and yellow, and I know they've got something else in there that's preventing them from melting. But it's when you heat it up, you are heating up the fire retardant chemicals within that food, and you're putting in your beautiful fresh vegetables or
right.
or whatever. And he looked at me and he goes, oh.
See, but that's the education process. And that's what you're so brilliant at. Let me ask you, because I'm looking into replacing a couple. I have wooden spoons, and I'm looking into other utensils that this company Tilly, I think I looked at. They have wooden products. But anyway, how do you, what is the substitute for a spatula? Because you need to turn pancakes, and you need to turn a grilled cheese sandwich. And do the wood ones work well too?
A wood does, but it's not flexible enough.
Right.
But you can get a beautiful stainless steel one, and they're really flexible. I mean, it sounds really weird that it's not stiff.
Yeah.
But I found them in, I was just in Williams-Sonoma just last week, and I was just testing out, and they were really flexible. Okay.
You have to use cast iron because you can't use a griddle with any kind of plastic. Otherwise, you're just scraping it, right?
Yeah. Well, I use cast iron, but I use the metal, and I use the metal.
Oh, if you use a silver, like a stainless steel.
Yes, and I use the in my stainless steel fry pans as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I use it.
And cast iron is so good for you because it gives you iron and off gases or whatever iron. So it's a natural way to get iron. Oh, there's so many things. Okay, let's move to the liquid dish soap. I thought I'd just put that up here so people can have the recipe that you offer. Is very easy, glass pump, Castile soap, and essential oils, right?
Yeah. And water.
You can tailor it to your, whether you want lavender or lemon or orange, whatever you want, right? And then just refill it. We talked about the wood utensils and using those and replacing them from the plastics.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about that?
No, and they're easy to, you can't put them in a dishwasher. That's the one thing you can't put the wooden utensils in. You really have to wash them and dry them, and just dry them standing up.
And then once in a while, oil them, right?
And yeah, once in a while, oil them, let the oil sit for a good 10 minutes. And if it's too much, then wipe it off. But you want to moisten the wood after a
Okay,
little
that's good. Good, because otherwise they crack.
They crack, and yeah, and it's you know, they look beautiful after they've been oiled a little. I mean, that rich color. And I would oil it with just a good olive oil, and not so much olive oil. No, that makes it too cloggy. I would go
The
for
mineral oil?
No, I don't like mineral oils.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, I don't. I would rather a walnut oil or a hazelnut oil or an almond oil. They're a lot finer.
Okay.
Mineral oil is a byproduct, and you'll find that the mineral oil is usually a byproduct from seed that's not meant to be an oil, like canola oil, and then there's rapeseed oil, and my mother used to love, there was an oil became the great hit in Australia, and then later on I found out it's really carcinogenic, and I went, oh, good on you, Laura.
Yeah, that's another thing. Canola oil is not good for you. Okay, food wraps. We talked a little bit about that.
Oh
What
yeah.
else do you want to share about that?
I personally, and everyone who knows me really well knows how much I dislike aluminium. It is so toxic, and people don't realize that
It's a heavy metal.
It's a heavy metal, and every fat cell in your body loves. Well, heavy metals love fat. They do.
Yeah, it's very hard to get out of your body. Very hard to detox.
Yeah, it is. It's really, but you know, people don't realize that, oh, I'm cooking with it. No. And you'll see all these Weight Watchers, oh, I'm cooking everything in this, and they'll show you the food or that baguette that they've got garlic butter in, and I'm, oh, please don't. I mean,
I love your alternative because, you know, what do you do when you have to take it to a potluck and it's hot?
Yeah.
And, you know, you want to keep it warm. So share your option for that.
Well, that, you know, you don't want it touching, but if you want it to be secure, get parchment paper in between. Put a lot of parchment. I do 2 or 3 layers, depending on how hot the food is, the condensation of the fluid.
Right.
And then put aluminium over it. That'll keep it steady, sturdy, but you're not contacting it to your food.
Yes, that's brilliant. That's a good option. Okay, bathroom. We talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention about bathrooms?
Yeah, and I think the bathroom is one of the areas that people just don't really think about, because I mean, I scrub my body every day. I do, but I use a bamboo scrubber, and
like the loofah sponge too, right?
Loofahs. That's the plant. That's what the original. That's what the plant.
I never knew that. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, and then that's what it dries out to be.
Okay.
And they're great because they go in and they get rid of the scuffing of the cells on your skin.
Yes.
When people have the plastic, which is a great idea, used to be, until you start understanding that you're in a shower, you're warm, you're and you're scrubbing your body, and you're using a nylon or it's definitely plastic-based scrubby, which you see everywhere. And you're scrubbing and you're putting the nanoparticles into your system.
Yes.
And not a good idea.
Yeah. Dry brushing is good for you, but you know, you want to do something that doesn't add more. Yeah. Doesn't add more to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then you have a hand soap recipe. And again, Castile soap is the.
Yeah, and cell suds cell suds really breaks down the fat.
What are cell suds? What are those?
It's I'll give you a better term later, but it is a product that really breaks down fat.
So if you
it's
go
a
to the
natural.
store and you say, I'd like some salsa, would they know what you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, they'll know what you're talking about. And when I got all the ingredients and I went to all these stores, Fred Meyer, PCC, Whole, everywhere to get, no one had any of it. It drove me crazy. After about a day of driving around, I went, that's it. So I came home and I ordered everything on Amazon because I had to.
Yeah, I know that is a problem.
It is, but
I want to support small business owners or local store, brick and mortar stores, but nowadays it's so hard to get some products.
yeah. But
I know they do
pure
have the
pasta,
Castile soap at Trader Joe's.
yeah, and salsa you get online. I haven't seen that really available, but all the
Okay.
other ingredients I'm finding now a lot more easier. Salsa
Okay.
is still a bit of a tough one to get.
Yeah. You know, Tina, that would be a super fun, maybe for our champions, we can come together and just make and take.
Well, I was thinking of doing a little workshop here, and I told my husband, he goes, you tell me when you're having it because we're all leaving.
Oh, well, that would be fun. Maybe you can host that and we can do,
Yeah.
if you want to offer it to the community, whoever you want, your clients. But I think it would be a fun thing to specifically offer our champion community, and we can come and, cover your costs for the workshop and then maybe your
ingredients.
products.
So you just basically turn up and I have everything here.
Yeah, and you learn how to do it. So then, then you can take that, use that same container, and just refill it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Let's do it.
Okay.
Body scrubs. You just talked about the
Yeah.
alternative using loofah instead of the nylon ones, which is a great reminder.
Yeah.
And then the shower curtains, we talked about that too. So bamboo would be a good alternative.
Yeah, and a month ago, I could find bamboo shower curtains really easily. I looked a couple of weeks ago and I couldn't. And what happened in that short couple of months that I couldn't find any? But then I went to Fred Meyer and I found 100% cotton shower curtains. Great, I'll go there.
So the bamboo that you have in this picture, they're just like slats, right? They're not.
And this is, I mean, my amazing VA helped me, and I laughed when I saw that. But I think it's a good image for people.
Okay.
Because we used to have those to keep the flies out of the house.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because I was thinking that would be like a screen, maybe, but I don't know.
It's more of a screen. But I said to him, I said, leave it, because if you do a picture of a bamboo shower curtain, it'll look exactly like the plastic.
Sure. Yeah.
So
it's just because we use bamboo sheets and I love bamboo sheets. Well, we're going over our time that we normally go over, but this is so much wonderful information. And your slides are so beautiful that I thought it would be a great visual to just throw in at the end here. So Tina, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to leave our listeners with? And I also want to make available, like, how can people stay in touch with you if they want to learn more? And you have a generous offer you wanted to make as well.
Oh, yeah. And it's just the closing thoughts is, I'm here to help you to enhance your quality of life. And your quality of life is really important, because whether you're 40, 50 or 60 or even 20, I want your next 20 or 40 or 50 years to be healthy. And that's showing you how to do it in simple steps and guiding you. And that's why I want to be a consultant. I don't want to be really a coach in the sense you have to do this. I want you to know what you can do and how you can do it, and then leave it up to you to decide when you can do it. Because there are a lot of things that people don't want to give up. And I go, well, you don't have to, but let's make a compromise. Let's see what you can do here, what you can do there. And just gradually. And I think it's that one step a day. That's when you start to feel empowered. That's when you start knowing you're getting on a healthier quality of life and a healthier journey. And that's what it's all about.
And that's all we can ever do. Otherwise, it's kind of like you shared at the beginning of this conversation. You feel overwhelmed and you do nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And so one thing at a time, just replacing it, the awareness, the, communication with stores and retail. And if enough of us do that, they'll make the shift because they're losing business. They want to stay in business. So share with our listeners and those who are listening to the recording afterwards. You have a generous offer, and if they mentioned that they heard it on the Conversation to Connect for Exceptional Connections, share what your offer was that you generously made to our community.
Well, I made to the whole community, it's a $99 offer that it's for 1.5 hours, and I can come to you in person, or we could do it on phone, the FaceTime. And some people go, they feel more comfortable if I'm on the phone with them, FaceTime, because I used to do that to the East Coast ladies. And they go, oh, great. And then I'll guide you through. For 1.5 hours, you can choose the room that you want to look at, and I'll guide you through it. And if we have more time, then we'll do another thing. It's for 1.5 hours, it's $99.
Sure. And I can tell you that because Tina did come into my home, she was very generous, and she is so non-judgmental. It's not about judgment, it's about education, and that's your passion and your heart is how to educate us and help make those little micro shifts that we've been talking about throughout this whole conversation to make a difference for yourself, for your family, and to, it's the education that I got, I've been passing on to others. So there is a beautiful ripple effect that occurs here. Your website, you want to share your website with anybody who wants to learn more?
Yeah, website at the moment just looks like a landing page, and I'm working with a new lady, and so at the moment it's move-me.org.
Perfect.
So it lands on, and you can't misplace it because it's all green at the moment. This will all change in the next month or so. But you can book a discovery call through the website.
Perfect.
And that's totally free. That's for half an hour, and we can talk and see if I'm a good fit for you. Maybe you like the idea, but you don't know. And then I can guide you through, and you can decide whether you'd like to do the 1.5 hours or not.
Beautiful. Okay, so I just want to encourage anybody who's wanting to, educate themselves and to be able to transform their homes into an eco-friendly, environment, and you want support with that, reach out to Tina. All of her contact information will be located in the description of this replay. And Tina, I just love your heart and your passion for making a difference. And, just really your story of how Joaquin put that seed in you, and how he came to Exceptional Connections and recorded your Spotlight Speaker Talk, and how he's been so instrumental in, he represents that next generation that feels betrayed, right?
Yeah, that's
and
true.
So how beautiful that for your relationship as a mother and son, and for the differences in the generations, that it's not that we don't care. It's that we just all got sucked into this, right?
Yeah.
Tupperware and all this kind of stuff, and make life easier, not realizing the negative effects to our health, in our environment, in our world.
Yeah, because plastic is convenience. I mean, it really is. It's convenient, but you can also be really convenient with plant-based products. So you just do that little switch.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time, Tina. Really appreciated you being a spotlight speaker for our recent Exceptional Connections networking event and sharing live with us, and then this beautiful conversation we have here that others can be able to glean and benefit from. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just want to leave everybody with, remember to make every connection an exceptional connection. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.